So today, we're going to talk about a new technology called Eagle AI. And this is a system that's designed to completely flip the script on how governments handle natural disasters. The whole idea is to stop reacting after something terrible happens, and instead, start predicting it before it even strikes.
You know, when a flood, a hurricane, or a wildfire is bearing down, the difference between getting a warning now versus 10 minutes from now, well, that can be everything. It can be measured in lives, in homes, in entire communities. The stakes are just incredibly high, and time is the one thing you can never, ever get back.
And that really brings us to a frustrating question, right? For decades, the way we've managed disasters has been, for the most part, reactive. We wait for the damage to happen and then we scramble to respond. But what if that entire model is just completely outdated?
Okay, let's dive into that. Because to really get why a solution like AI is so important, we first have to understand the core problem. And that's this challenge of what's called reactive governance.
Yeah, this really breaks it down. See, what happens is government agencies tend to work in their own little worlds. The weather data is over here, infrastructure data is over there, and the emergency services have their own info somewhere else. It's all fragmented. It means nobody has a single real-time picture of what's actually happening. So by the time leaders finally get all the information they need, the crisis is already unfolding. And this lag, it's not just some bureaucratic inconvenience. It has a real and often devastating cost.
It's really a domino effect when you think about it. Being in a reactive mode means you're always playing catch-up. It guarantees more damage to homes, to businesses, to infrastructure. And of course, the most tragic part is that it means a higher human cost. That's the real price of waiting.
But what if we could flip the script entirely? This is exactly where artificial intelligence steps in, offering us a chance to, finally get ahead of the storm.
So, Eagle AI is built to be way more than just a fancy weather forecast. A forecast might tell you, hey, it's going to rain. What Eagle AI does is sift through these enormous piles of data. We're talking satellite images, sensor data, historical patterns, to predict the probability of that rain causing a catastrophic flood in a very specific neighborhood. It's about going from knowing what might happen to understanding the actual risk of it happening.
So the big question is, how does it actually pull this off? Let's take a look under the hood and see how it turns all that raw data into a life-saving warning.
I mean, this comparison says it all, doesn't it? On the left, you've got the old way. Wait, assess the damage, and then send help. But look at the right. The AI-powered way is proactive. You analyze the data, you predict the risk, you warn people, and this is the crucial part, you get resources in place before the disaster even hits. That is an absolute game changer.
Okay, so this workflow diagram here really shows you the process in action. It's this constant flow of information. It starts with pulling in all this data from places like weather agencies, and it ends with getting a real alert out to the people who need it most. Let's just walk through it real quick. First, the system pulls in tons of climate data from all over. Second, the AI model gets to work, crunching all those weather patterns and geographical details to figure out the probability of a disaster. Third, if that probability shoots past a certain point, boom, it generates an official warning. And finally, that warning is automatically blasted out to disaster authorities and communities, giving them that precious, precious time to prepare.
So, what does having this kind of tool actually mean for the people in charge? And for all of us? Well, the benefits are pretty profound.
At the end of the day, it's all about this one thing: changing a government's job from cleaning up massive messes to actually preventing catastrophes before they happen. That simple shift is what saves money, it saves property, and most importantly, it saves lives.
And you can really see the ripple effect here. Better warnings obviously lead to better preparedness. Resources like rescue teams or medical supplies can be sent to the right places ahead of time. It all adds up to a much faster, much more effective response that, you guessed it, reduces both the economic and the human toll.
So, to wrap things up, let's just zoom out for a second and think about the bigger picture. This isn't really just about one cool piece of tech. It's about a whole new way of thinking about public safety.
You know, this quote right here really nails it. Technology like Eagle AI makes it possible to move away from governing by crisis. Instead, we can start governing with foresight, using data to see what's coming and act before it's too late, not just for disasters, but maybe for all sorts of public issues.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating thought to end on. We've seen how this can work for floods and storms, but what about other things, like predicting a public health outbreak, or an economic downturn, or a major infrastructure failure? The potential to use this kind of proactive, data-driven approach is just enormous. It could totally reshape how we solve our biggest challenges.